What other people think of you is a reflection of them, not of you. What you think of other people is a reflection of you and not them. This is such an important concept to understand because if we do not, then we're just going to take whatever people think of us and accept it as our own truth. And if we believe what other people think about us, especially if it's negative, then it harms our own self-image, our own self-belief, and will send us down into a spiral of suffering. But if we understand that what they think of us is not actually who we are, and it can never be who we actually are because it's nameless and labelless. Who we actually are is only an experience we can have for ourselves. No one else has lived your life, had the same thoughts, had the same experiences. No one knows the whole picture of you. So it's impossible for someone else to think of you in a certain way and for that to be a truth because they're seeing you through their lens of their own experiences, their own judgments, their own biases. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just what it is. But it's important to understand that that's not you. And making that clear distinction between what is theirs and what is yours will help alleviate a lot of the suffering and the overthinking that happens when we're constantly worried about what other people think of us. And what other people think of us is honestly irrelevant. It shouldn't really affect who we are. And if it does, then we need to let go of that. And that's our work. If it's affecting us, then that means we're believing what they say versus what we know to be true for ourselves. What they think of us is never who we really are because let's say that we're judging someone else and we think of someone as a certain way. That usually is a judgment of some sort. It's our own thinking and our own bias towards them. Yes, they might have done a specific action. Let's say that they stole something or they said a specific word or phrase that is negative. But does that mean that they as a person are negative? We usually judge people holistically rather than just saying this is what they did. So it's very important to distinguish between what is an action that someone else did versus who they are. And any sort of judgment or labeling that we do is coming from our own thinking and not actually who they are. Who they are is changing every single second. They could be a different person tomorrow than they were yesterday. And the same for us. So whenever we judge somebody, that's a reflection on us and not them. And I mean, that person can do whatever they want and say whatever they want. That's them. But if they're judging you, that's back on them. And so drawing the line in the sand to understand whose is whose, what's thinking, and what's an actual event will really help to create boundaries for yourself as you're interacting with other people. And if someone calls you a certain name or judges you in a specific way, labels you these things, that's for you to return back to them. And it might it's quite difficult to prevent you from feeling any sort of negative emotion when that is said to you in any moment. But what we can do, and what helps me a lot, is to return it back to them. Just redirect it. If I feel a certain way and someone's judging me, and that happens all the time, you can just read reviews on my books and people are just slandering it all the time, as well as giving it a lot of love and more love than hate. But that really, well, all I do is understand that that's where they are and what they're saying is a reflection of them and not of me. And it's anything that they might say just helps me understand where they are in that moment. And I don't have to take it on. And that's how boundaries can really help us is to draw that line and kind of have a bubble around yourself. And that's how I like to navigate life, because if I don't and I allow everything to permeate through that bubble, then I'm going to be quite a mess and I'm anxious all the time, constantly worrying about what other people think. So try this on for size and see how you feel. And the next time someone says anything about you, judges you in any certain way, remind yourself that that is a reflection of them. And it's not you judging them for that at all. It's just understanding that that's what they're saying because they have their own past experiences and are projecting whatever that is onto you. And yes, you might make mistakes and things like that, but that doesn't mean that you're a bad person, that you're worthless, that you're not good enough. any of those judgments are unnecessary and unhelpful and is not true about you. Yes, we made a mistake and that's it. There doesn't need to be any judgment about it. It doesn't need to lower your self-esteem. It doesn't change the true nature of who you actually are, which is just a growing and forever learning, evolving being. And so if we see life through that lens, we have a lot more empathy and forgiveness for other people, and even more importantly, for ourselves. And so just watch whatever is happening, watch the judgments, watch the conclusions that we're making about certain things, and understand that that comes from thinking, and separate that from the actual event that happened. And that's how we can observe something in a neutral way instead of charging it negatively in any sort of way. And of course, when we charge something negatively, more of that is going to be attracted to it. So neutral observation is how you can essentially be free of all of the negative energy that can come from judging or anything like that.